That's the good side. This is the not so good. Of these, I would look at this and say, you know, let's make this the back. Okay? So having decided that much, and we know which way is which, each one of these pieces as you go, you're going to take a look at them and say, okay, I'm going to bury this out of the way. It's a big ding and out of it. Like, this is not a pretty one. Right? Clearly, that's in the back. And I might turn it around and put it back this way so you really can't see it. Or maybe up. It's just aesthetics at that point, right? All right, so these things are going to go in basically 4 steps. First step is going to be, you're going to put these guys at the appropriate point here. You can follow this really is written down. You're going to put them down at 2, it tells you 2 inches this way, and 2.5, so 2 inches here, it's basically going to even it up. And 2.5 in, which is going to be about there. We'll measure it and make sure it's in the right spot. And this guy here, this is the way I always look at these things at sunrise. And if you put in multiple screws, then when if it were outside and the sun were baking on one side, it wouldn't work as much. So you always do it the same way. So you're going to put those 2 there. Then you're going to pick the ugly. This is a relatively pretty one. So we'll put that in front someplace. That will go in front here, for example. And this we know is going to be a back, right? Because it's pretty ugly. And you know, probably this way because it's less. You know, this is going to be out of the line of sight. So you're going to end up something like this. In each case, this guy gets glued. And then we put in a pair of screws. And here there are 2 lengths of screws. I guess, right? Okay. Short screws here. These are the 2-inch screws. And you put them in pairs. So we're going to put them in, you know, about here. Give yourself enough room so that we're going to be able to put in a long screw like that and not run into one. So once you have the measurements down the correct point, you're going to put a pair of screws, if I don't throw them around, a pair of screws in about there. Okay, thank you. And the other pair of screws will go in here. Same thing over here, you're going to do these 2, and you can screw them in, they won't go anywhere. When you put these legs in, I've always put screws in at an angle. You start out at the extension of the old lumber and put them in at an angle so you end up kind of eating into the middle of that piece of wood. What that does is it minimizes the possibility of splitting this piece of wood. These screws will drill themselves. Or to make it easier on you, if you pre-drill just a little bit just to get started so you're at the right angle. Because we don't want to do is we don't want to come straight in and end up sticking out here and get ready to pull it back.
Depending on how much control you have with you're comfortable with the tool, if you pre-drill, it'll help direct the screw.
If you don't want to pre-drill because you're a pro, just make sure make sure that you hold a fair amount of pressure on it. You just got to keep pushing it all the way in.
And that's a hard one to do.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Lou gets here. Right. Lou is right up there at step 1 at the beginning.
Yeah, only thing I didn't